All the way through this workshop, I'm going to, at different points, I'll be mentioning attitude issues and stuff like that. But Chris and I really wanted to focus this entire week on attitude because it's so important. And this learning, understanding the difference between dreams and goals, understanding the importance of failure and how it is a part of this business and how you learn from it, keep moving forward from it, and how to get back up off the ground from it. Also, how to protect your own art, your own writing. For heaven's sakes, protect it. And how to never read your own reviews and never become a critic. That's all attitude stuff. I got one more major attitude area here to cover this week, and it's more along the lines of how to. These other things were form how to, how to not do something and how to go this way or that way. But one of the aspects that to turn yourself into a writer is to read outside your genre. This is also an attitude. This is a training. You have to become an eclectic reader, just across the board. A Catholic reader, I guess would be the better way of putting it. Across the board, just everything, everywhere, shape or form. You must take time to study other things. Now, back to taste. There are a lot of genres that will just flat not be to your taste. But the question is, how do you know what's going on over there unless you go pay attention? What Chris and I do and did a lot, especially when there were major chains with a lot more books, is that we would go into like a chain store like a Barnes & Noble, and almost everybody who normally goes into a Barnes & Noble has what I call a railroad track. They walk through the door, they follow the exact same course to the exact same genre section that they always go to. Well, Chris and I didn't do it that way. We spent an enormous amount of time at all the books around the front, really studying the books and the new releases and their positions and how much the publishers paid for the end caps and why they would pay that for the end caps and what are the new trends and what are the trends in covers and all of that sort of stuff up front. And then she would go one way and I'd go another, and you would never know what section of the store we were going to be in because we tried to cover it all. For a long time, I was spending an enormous amount of time in the young adult section, just studying because I knew those were the trends that were coming, and studying what the young adult writers were doing and what the young adult readers were buying. And very important to get out and read outside your own genre. Now, again, taste, sometimes you're going to have to put your taste away and just say, well, this isn't to my taste, but I'm going to read it anyhow because I want to. Romance. A lot of you guys taking this class are going to go, oh, I don't want to read romance. Well, and women? Oh, I don't want to read that men's action adventure stuff. That's all action. It's got no characters in it. Well, yeah, I know. Taste. That's probably a correct opinion on both of your parts. But the truth of the matter is there's some really good writing going on in both of those genres that are specifically designed for men or women. Romance is a women's genre, okay? And that is the nature of the beast. So go study it a little bit. Maybe don't buy a book. Maybe stand in a bookstore and just scan it. Scan one or two. See what they're doing. See what the writing looks like. See who the main writers are. But get outside your genre. Try things. Try things. You may be trying to market your books in the wrong genre. I mean, I have a genre structure workshop I teach, and it's pretty startling how many writers don't even know what genre they're writing in, but they swear they do. They swear they know what genre they're writing in, and when it actually comes down to a genre definition, they're completely off. They're actually writing over here. And so if you're sending them to New York, you're sending them to the wrong editor, so therefore no one's going to buy them. Duh. And if you're putting it up indie published, and you literally are putting it up with the wrong buttons pushed, and so you're trying to sell something that is a women's fiction or a mystery, and you've got it labeled romance, well, you're wondering why you're not getting a lot of sales. Maybe the reason is you punched the wrong button and don't even know what genre you're writing in. And so you might want to, spend some attention on that. But until you actually go and start reading outside of your genre, you really won't know it. You really won't know it. And again, I know, taste is everything, you know, but if you're going to become a professional writer, you have to study professional writing inside the fiction world. Nothing wrong with that. I used to have the attitude. I mean, I did. I said this for years and years and years. I can write anything. Anything that's fiction, I can write it. Then I ran into, you know, the Victorian romance area, Regency romance. No, can't write that. I learned that. My first attempt at a romance novel was way ahead of the blood and guts romance novels that can happen today. And Chris for years called it my dead body romance because I had too many dead bodies in it, which you can't have in a romance at that point in time when I wrote that one. And so, you know, I learned how to write romance. I like romance writing. I've written lots of romances under different names, and I've actually ghosted a couple of major romance writers. But Regency romance, that pretty well killed my claim of being able to write anything. I don't even understand it, let alone it's not to my taste. I flat don't understand it. So, and just can't even seem to read it enough to even pretend to get it. Not saying it's bad. I mean, heck, there's some fantastic writers that are really good friends of mine working there. But I don't understand it. So again, my claim of I can write any kind of fiction, I no longer say that because I can't. I can't. I have run into Regency romance. And the one area where I just flat couldn't write and couldn't learn how to write. My taste was so far off on that I couldn't even get near it. I appreciate it. Don't say I understand it. I can see it when someone else is writing it now, which I couldn't even do before. When one poor writer at one of our workshops, I started tearing into her about such and such, and my dear old wife leaned over, put her arm on my hand and said, "Shut up." And then turned to tell this poor young girl that was looking appalled that it was one of the best Regencies she'd ever read, and went on and on praising it. And, you know, again, what an idiot I am on that one. So, again, read outside your genre. It's an attitude. You got to adopt the attitude of go out and try to find out about everything inside of fiction. You never know when you may commit that genre by accident and not even know you committed it. Okay? Now, the second attitude thing is how to read like a writer. A lot of beginning writers think that you got to read critically. Absolutely not. No. You absolutely don't. In fact, when you're reading like a writer, you shut off the critical brain. You don't look at anything critical. You absolutely do not. You don't read like you're going to have a test on it in an English class. You don't read to deconstruct it. You basically just read for pleasure. Yeah, I know. Tough life, huh? You read for pleasure. You pick up a book and you have fun reading it, and you read for pleasure. When you get done, if the author did things like, wow, it's 4 in the morning and I got to be up at 7. What am I doing reading this book? Well, what that means now is where the writer part kicks in. What does that mean? Well, the writer had unbelievably good cliffhangers. If they could pull you to 4 in the morning or 5 in the morning and you had to get up in 3 hours and made you finish the book, the writer was really good at cliffhangers. So what you should do is go back and study the book through studying the cliffhangers. If the writer kept you up till 3 and 4 in the morning, part of cliffhangers is pacing. Not all of it, but it's a part of it. There's other aspects. How did the writer pace this book to keep you down inside the story and yet make you move fast through it so that you stayed up and didn't notice the time going by? Pacing. So that would be a book you would study on pacing. Make sense? So, what you do is you read books for pleasure. You read them for pleasure. If a writer lets you go, and halfway through the book you go, oh, this isn't interesting me anymore, this really got slow, and you put it down, then you go, okay, well, I'm not going to read that anymore for pleasure. Pick the book back up, and try to find out where the writer went wrong. What caused you to make this book feel slow? What caused it? What did the writer do that wasn't to your taste or was a bad writing habit that the writer did? Study the book for what the writer did wrong for you. Okay? But before you can do any of that, either side of that coin, studying for something that the writer did right or studying for something that the writer did wrong for you, you must attempt to read the book for pleasure. Reading is part of your job. It is absolutely part of your job. Of course, committing words to paper is a major part of your job, but you can't ignore reading for pleasure. You just can't. You must continue to read for pleasure. Okay? So that's how you read as a writer. It's an attitude. Read for pleasure, and then go back and study what worked for you, or what didn't work for you, as the case may be. But do it second or third time through the book, not the first time. Not the first time. Read for pleasure. Enjoy your reading. And that is the major end of the major focus on attitude. Back with an assignment in a moment.